How have you been over the year?
What do you mean?
For 1 year, is there any change, any new, any exciting?
Well, I think I run something. Remember, I think I told you in the podcast, I run the National Forum for Health and Wellbeing at Work, made up of 50 global employers, Microsoft, BT, BP, Shell, Rolls-Royce, the BBC. It's big. And it's brilliant, and it's all kind of voluntary. So we have the HR directors and chief medical officers and directors of health and well-being of all 50 major companies globally. Bristol Myers Squibb, the pharmaceutical company, etc. Rolls-Royce. And we just met yesterday. We had our meeting. We meet about every 6 weeks. Yesterday was online, but usually we do it hybrid. We have a face-to-face meeting at a headquarters of one of the members in London headquarters of one of the members. And then we stream it as well for those people who can't come on. And we do things on health and well-being. We actually create things. We don't just sit and talk about what a workplace should look like. Basically, in the West, the whole issue, given there's financial crises, many economies are bumping along the bottom. Even China isn't doing very well. Not as well as it did, significantly worse. The United States isn't doing so well. The UK, the EU. We have a financial crisis. We have people worried about their jobs. We have long hours culture because people are showing presenteeism. All of that. And therefore, to retain staff and get them to produce and not to get ill. And remember, stress is the leading cause of sickness absence in all developed countries now, by far.
Yeah.
Stress-related illnesses like anxiety and depression. In the UK, it's 57% of all long-term sickness absence on government figures. So it's big, but it's big in every country.
Yeah.
There's no difference. So this forum has been together now 6.5 years, and it's trying to do something about it. What do we do to create well-being cultures in organizations?
Yeah.
Your organizations in Korea are, I'm sorry, in Vietnam. I keep saying Korea for some reason. In Vietnam are private sector.
Private sector, yes.
Private sector. So you would have Microsoft there. You would have BP there.
We have everything. We have all.
You have all the Rolls-Royce. You'd have all the normal companies there. Yeah, just like everybody else.
Yes.
And they can operate pretty freely in Vietnam.
They can. They under foreign direct investment protection, so they operate and under the same standard operations procedure and everything. So
isn't it an irony that you have a country like China or Vietnam, which are politically very left-wing, i.e. communist, and yet a capitalist state can operate within it. Do you know what I mean? It is strange. Because that's not the way China started. The way China started with state industries.
Yes.
As did Russia.
Yes.
I think Vietnam and China, Russia is not really good at capitalism.
Yeah.
For some reason. But China and Vietnam seem to have got the message.
Yeah.
And South Korea. Not North Korea, but South Korea.
South Korea is really, really booming.
Really booming.
Yeah,
booming. I think that's probably the big growth area is South Korea.
Yeah.
Mainly because of how fantastic they are on IT and all of that stuff, innovation and the rest of it.
Yeah. And I think that we are in the very good time of Vietnam in terms of the future investments and stuff. And the tension between China and America leaves a lot of opportunities for companies to divest the investment in China and then start to reinvest into Vietnam. So we see.
I would have thought Vietnam would benefit from China being, for various reasons, more politically risky.
Yeah.
That the investment would go to Vietnam more than to China. Once you get your act, when as you become more developed.
Yes.
I would have thought the investment would be a safer investment for the West to go into.
Yeah.
Even though I know the relationships between the two countries are pretty good.
The relationship is pretty good, yes. But at the same time, each country has to look after the growth for themselves, right? So Vietnam is trying to, balance between the relationship with China, at the same time trying to welcome in investments coming from the West. And right now, the investment from the West tend to come to Vietnam more and more every year. So it's
yeah,
good.
I would have thought so.
Yeah.
I think ultimately Vietnam will be the kind of new South Korea.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, and it'll move in that kind of direction.
We hope that one too. Yeah. Cary, thanks a lot for participating in the forum of 50 companies, because the culture of well-being is something definitely a need to promote. And then these big companies are the leaders in their fields, right? So when they lead the way, then other companies will be
They do. Yeah, we have
follow.
tons of companies now wanting to join my forum, but we're not having any more because we're very big already. We, 50, we represent every sector now, so we don't really want to, but we are putting things on the website of Manchester Business School, the Alliance Manchester Business School. Our website has all the work we're doing on it. Like we did Barclays Bank Barclays Bank is on it, and they helped us to, it's a big bank in the UK. It's a big global bank, and it's helped us to put together a financial well-being guide for companies. How do you help your employees during financial crises that we're in at the moment? And we're in a global financial crisis, really, in lots of ways. So, but nevertheless, we're doing what we can, and it's a volunteer organization, and it's amazing that these senior people, want a place to speak and to do things, and to really improve the workplace. I don't know if in Vietnam you have long hours culture, but I suspect you do, because that tends to be the Asian way.
Yeah, we do. Yep. And then the culture and well-being is the hot topic in Vietnam also, because it's global movement anyway. So companies, if you want to attract talents or retain people, you have to find ways to make the culture that adaptable and agile enough to go with the change globally. So there's a lot of activities that we see in here also, so Cary. But the problem is, we don't see the people doing it in a way that creates something lasting. So there's a lot of activities here. Is like you put a band-aid on a wound, and then and then
I agree.
It's very decorative, beautifully. But then, in terms of they whether or not they do it from their heart and from something that commitment for long term, is a question of doubt. So I really look forward to see something that more concrete from the leaders in here to make it happen. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. What we did, that's the way well-being started here. The well-being started in Europe with people doing cosmetic HR. So they would do things like mindfulness at lunch.
Yeah.
Or they would have, do you know what mental health first aid is?
Yes.
Okay, they would have mental health first aid because it's easy to do. You train up your staff. It's not very costly. They can talk to people who have mental health problems, and it looks good. And then they do the well-being day with smoothies, sushi at your desk, that kind of stuff. But that's not what well-being's about. Well-being is about a strategic issue. And my national forum has said every company in the UK, and this is a movement that we're into now, should have a non-executive director on the board who's responsible for employee health and well-being.
Yeah.
That they should have a director of health and well-being. Most companies in the UK now have, who reports to that board member, who is the operational person to make it happen.
Yeah.
And then you should have the metrics to measure whether the organization is achieving success. So the metrics would be things like, do you measure stress-related ill health? in terms of absenteeism figures? Do you measure, these are objective measures, do you measure turnover, people leaving the company? Are they leaving in bigger numbers than you would find in your sector? And that's an indication there's a problem. Then you ask, and then there's subjective measures like job satisfaction levels you collect independently. Somebody outside would collect it independently for you about how the employees perceive your organization. Can they work flexibly if they want to?
Yeah.
Do they work long hours? What do they think about them? How are they managed? What's their perception of their line manager? All of that stuff. And that now should be on the annual reports of all businesses. We haven't got there yet, but we're pushing in that direction. That's what the forum's doing, pushing to get organizations to move in that direction.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. And yeah.
That way they'll take action. So when the UK government, for example, when in the EU decided that the gender pay gap was very high, basically men were getting paid roughly 20% more than women across all sectors, worse in some than others. They said that all companies now have to report annually their gender pay gap. What are women getting paid in your organization? What are men getting paid? And ever since that became a board issue that they had to look at this data by law, then the gender pay gap is narrowed dramatically, because the board is saying, come on now, we can't do that. If you're going to employ a woman, you have to pay them the same as a man.
Yeah.
And we've got to get that pay gap down, because it's reported every year and then it's published in the newspapers. Bad. It makes us look really bad.
Yeah.
So gender pay gap is another, because it became a board issue, things got done.
Yeah. I think I think that's a good thing about human being is that when we know that something needs to be done, then it will get done, right? We creatively enough to find ways to get it done. It's
yeah, exactly. And it affects you. So for example, if you have 12 people working for you, right, and you want to keep those 12 and they're good, then you have to find ways of creating the right culture in your small company to keep them. You have to do things that if they say they don't want to come in every day, they want to work sometimes from home, sometimes from a central office. And the evidence is mounted on that. We've collected all the evidence, and the evidence in most countries now, including the Far East, is that if people are allowed to work flexibly, it delivers to the bottom line.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean working 100% from home, because they don't want to do that. That means choosing when to come in and when not to come in negotiation with their boss, the employer.
Yeah.
And that's what we have in the UK now. In my university, everybody here can work flexibly now. That means all staff, not just academics have always worked flexibly, but all the staff can now. The secretaries, the technicians in labs, they all have flexible working arrangements.
Yeah. I think that the pandemic happens that give us some really good push in our back for change, right? And it's really
exactly,
yeah. So
that was the good news of the pandemic, wasn't it?
It was, yes. And it's also helped us to realize what's important also. Like, I always talk to my wife, the moment that you were on the trip to Cuba, remember, or back in 1964, right? And at that moment, you realize something that's important to your life, and then you move all the way to that make you move to England and
that affected me, because you know what it made me think? It says life is a one-act play.
Yeah,
you only have it once, and you have to think about your priorities. See, your priority is your work, obviously, but it's also the 3 children you have.
Yeah,
to get them educated, to make them feel safe, to love them, to spend time with them, and then your grandchildren. And so I think, you have to get your priorities right in life, because this is, just being a workaholic doesn't help you.
Yeah.
Doesn't help you because you don't spend the time with children you need to spend for them for you to be close to them.
Yeah. Cary, since we talk about that, and then of course our audience would like to pick some, some advice from you. A lot of us out there living without really pick the right kind of priorities for their lives, right? So in your advice, how can they make the right choice for their priorities though?
Well, I think it is funny, only in crisis times, like the pandemic, where lots of people lost their lives globally, or what happened in the Cuba affair.
Yeah.
Right? Where the world could have been in a nuclear war. Right?
Yes.
In times like that, people, and when you yourself get ill with something potentially very serious, all of these kinds of events are events that make you focus in on what your priority should really be. But I mean, I think for me, that's what's important, is that people look at everything. Not that you should stop working. We all have to work to earn money, to look after our families, grandchildren, the rest of it. But you have to say to yourself, there's a balance here. And I think in Asia, and I did a lot of work in Japan for many years, about 40 years ago, when I went to Japan on several occasions and did work with Japan Travel Bureau, the Japanese airline, JTB, and we were looking at the hours that people were working, and people, death by overwork. They have a word in Japan, karyoshi, means death by overwork, because the Japanese work extremely long hours. So do the Chinese, so do, I suspect, in Vietnam and South Korea. And it's not healthy. None of that's healthy. Number one, if you consistently work long hours, you will get ill.
Yeah.
You'll get seriously ill. I looked at all the studies. I did a meta-analysis of all the studies for the UK government health and safety executive years ago. And consistently long hours excuse me for a minute. Just got this caught. So working, let me get that up. Working consistently long hours will get you ill. So how do we get good balance in our lives, really? I think is what we ought to be thinking about. And in Asia, that really has to happen. Okay, Asia's developing really fast. Well, Japan did ahead of everybody else in Asia.
Yeah.
Then it's China, then it's South Korea, then it's Vietnam, all of you. But you're working excessively long hours. And I don't think it's healthy for you individually. It's not healthy for your business in the long run. The evidence shows. It's okay to work 1 week long hours, but if you do that consistently all the time, it will damage you and ultimately damage your outside relationships, your business for sure, because you'll make wrong decisions.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it'll damage your health and your family. And when it starts damaging family, that goes back into the workplace, because you start worrying about your kids not, having problems at home or problems at school as a result of that, etc. So I just think in the context of Southeast Asia, I just think, and India is the same, they have a long hours culture. It's just not healthy. The West had it, and the West is downplaying it now. And there's a lot of research now on the 4-day working week.
Yeah.
A lot of research.
When they research for it, soon the West will have the 4-day working weeks.
I think they will. They will.
Yeah.
Sweden, well, New Zealand already does. But there are countries like Sweden, Iceland have done big global national studies on the 4-day working week. The UK's just done it on 55 companies. And they did an experiment with those companies that it depended how long it was, 6 months to a year. They dropped from a 5-day working week to a 4-day working week and kept the salaries the same. And they found their productivity was higher. The labor retention was higher. Productivity, where they could measure it depending on the company, whether it had good metrics or not, was higher. So all the evidence is mounting that working consistently long hours is not healthy and not very productive either.
Cary, I like to bring you back to the moment you're in the boat to Cuba, right? And then you decided that you're gonna leave America and go back to Europe. What happened? Why did you decide that way?
Why did I do what?
Why did you decide
well, Cuba just made me think of my life. Think of, what do I want to do with it? Do I just want to go on the, become do I just want to start a job? Because I did my undergraduate degree, then I went into the Navy Air Force for a while. I had to, because otherwise I'd have been drafted. I went in as a reserve. Then I went and did an MBA. Then I got the opportunity of coming to England. I thought, I'm going to take it, because the Cuba thing scared me. Scared me. I thought life is too short. That could have been the end. That could have been a nuclear war. We came within hours of a nuclear war. Within hours. So then I just did my, I came over and tried to find myself, like we all do. I'm 24 years of age. My closest friend in the United States was from England. So I knew a lot about England. I knew it had a national health service, which I liked. I liked the concept of free medicine for all. I liked the idea of a welfare state, helping people who were poor or for health reasons couldn't cope, either financially or in any other way. So that became the thing that motivated me. And I think, to be honest with you, I think we all have a point in time in our lives when we reimagine and reflect on where we are and where we're going, and do we want to do that? We got a lot of that from the pandemic globally. Remember, we had the Great Resignation. A lot of people came back after the pandemic and said, I don't like the job I'm in. I've had a lot of time to reflect, working from home, being locked away during lockdown. And they said, no, that's it. I'm not going back to that job. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to either start my own company, or I'm going to go work for a nicer organization, or I'm going to do something that gives me a strong sense of purpose. Maybe I'll go into teaching, social work, something that helps other people. So I think really we all come to a reflection point.
So how can we create that reflection point more often?
That's a very good question. I don't think we do it enough, mainly because we're trying to earn a living. We're stay in the here and now, and we're just not focused on the future. We're trying to survive. Everybody's got a job, trying to keep their job in very insecure times. That's globally. And I don't think we do enough of it. However, I think the pandemic was a turning point for quite a lot of people. I know that the Z generation and the young millennials are the ones who really took that pandemic seriously. And now they'll only go work for an organization that gives them a sense of purpose, gives them some autonomy and control over their job, gives them training experience and develops them, right? They'll work hard. They're not snowflakes, because that's what they're called in the West, snowflakes, by some employers, that they won't stay with an organization if they don't like it. I think they're doing the right thing. And many of them don't have enough money to have mortgages. Therefore, they have nothing to lose. Where their parents stayed with the organization, even if they didn't like it, because it paid them well. And they had mortgages and other financial commitments, and didn't leave. This next generation have experienced, through the financial crisis of their parents and the pandemic, the life and death pandemic, that life is too short to do something they don't like. So if we want to employ that generation, and you want to keep them, You're going to have to do something to make them feel valuable, give them a sense of purpose. And you might say, oh, why should they get that? I never got that. Sure, you can say that. But they're free and easy now. They're not, but also better trained than generations before them, more IT literate, very bright, higher proportion of them educated at higher education in university or even beyond level. So we want that talent. You want that talent. There's only one way to keep it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cary, you seems to be very happy, and you are very happy. And my wife and I always try to multiply happiness by sharing stories. If we can sharing stories from amazing people, then hopefully there's somebody out there who listen to the conversation that we are having at the moment, that we find something that inspiring, something that motivate them to take actions towards something good for their lives, right? So over the years, share with us, how can you nurture and grow the happiness in you and and share with people around you though?
Well, for me, it's being glass half full rather than glass half empty. Number one, it's being kind to other people.
Yeah.
It's just a simple bit of behavior. Just being nice to other people, even if you find them difficult to be with, rather than feel defensive and angry with them and want to put them down. You be kind. Kindness helps develop good relationships. So I think that's one thing. I think also thinking about your children as well, and thinking about your grandchildren, thinking about your family, and putting your family into perspective. So say, for instance, I'm ready to get angry with somebody because they've done something. I'm in the workplace, I'm writing a book with somebody, and that somebody has just not done anything, and I've written half of it already, and they're just sitting there fooling around. I'm really could be very angry. You know what I do? I stop myself and I think to myself, what if that was my son? And this man is now yelling at my son. Right? How would I feel that my son was being yelled at? So in other words, I look at my behavior and say, don't do it. Find a way of helping them to finish the book and to understand that, this is going to be a very worthwhile exercise. We're helping people because it's about health and well-being, or whatever it's about. It's about women at work, or whatever the topic is. So I think just being a nice person in life and listening to other people as well, not always being on transmit, be on receive, not transmit all the time. So you can hear what other people who you're, for example, managing, think about what's going on. Listen to them. And that will help prevent lots of problems. If you're unable to listen to your staff as a manager, for example, they will not talk to you because they know you're not really interested. And they will bury their emotions and feelings. And if it gets really bad, they'll leave, they'll burn out, or they'll be job dissatisfied. So it'll affect their health, but it'll also affect your performance. So I think just doing the simple human things that we can all do is the answer in life, and not to be nasty. I know we are from time to time as human beings, we get angry at people's behavior. But you have to be patient, you have to listen, you have to maybe understand why they're being negative or being aggressive. Try to understand it, and then you can develop a better working relationship.
Those little things that you say is really hard for a lot of people, because it needs them to really invest time to listen, invest time to think, invest time to really understanding the other person in this busy world where everything is really going fast.
Exactly. Right? Exactly.
So tell us, how can we have that pause of moment to really, pay attention, listen, understand?
Well, I think the way that you tend to do that is when you can get away from work. So I don't know about Vietnam, but I think what's good about Europe and it's not good about the US is the US is probably the average employee only gets 2 weeks off a year.
Oh.
Right? In Europe, it's more like 6 to 8 weeks off a year.
Mm.
And I think, okay, you'd say that has productivity implications. It may do, but it's good to get away from the humdrum everyday pressure. So you have time with your family to reflect on, when I go away with my family for a couple weeks in the summer to Portugal, we love Portugal, so we go there. When I go there, I spend time with the kids, also start talking to my daughter, talking to my kids, talking to my wife about, are you happy? What's going on with your work? What's going on in life? And that's where you start to reflect on the lifestyle that you have and what you're doing at work. Times away from it. If you're like you tend to get in Asia, people working enormous amounts of hours. I don't know what the average holiday would be in Vietnam. It would probably be less than 2 weeks.
Less.
Yeah, less, like it is in Japan. I mean, it's just crazy. I just think that attitude that doesn't help you, doesn't provide you with a reflection time away.
Mm.
So if it was me, one way I think you would help businesses as well as individuals is giving them more holiday times to have. I remember Netflix did something very interesting. A number of years ago, they introduced that you can have as many holidays as you want. We're not going to mandate it's only 2 weeks. You can have as many weeks as you want. As long as you get your job done, we don't care.
Yeah.
Right?
The next big way, yes.
Which was quite interesting. But the irony is, I think when they reviewed this policy, people didn't take any more time off. They took marginally more time off, but they didn't take a lot of time because part of it is cultural. And I think the same thing applies to Southeast Asia. I think it's important that that changes because for the health and well-being of people in China, Japan, Vietnam, South Korea, a range of countries. I think Taiwan, I think it's important that people have breaks, have breaks away with their family for their own health, by the way, for the health of their business.
Yeah. And then we thank you for creating the forum and actively participate to make the example for for a lot of companies, a lot of communities to study from the work that you guys have been doing, so that they can make something good for their employees. That's
good.
Is important. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much as well. It's great talking to you again.
One last question, okay?
Yes.
And one last question. All right. You mentioned about thinking so many times in our conversation. So we want to have some advice from you how you apply. What practice did you apply to yourself so that you can improve your ability to think over the years? That's it.
Okay. I guess what I do is I prioritize things. I'm very good at saying planning a day. So I'll say to myself in a given day, what are the priorities for me to achieve today? There are other things that are on my priority list, but I can do that in 3 or 4 days. This has to be done and has to be done now. And I ensure that I do it between a 9 to 5 culture and don't go over it. Otherwise, I don't see children, grandchildren, wife. So I think having a to-do list and prioritizing everything, and then having another list, which is a not to-do list. In other words, a list that says, don't let these things interfere with you today, because in order for you to get home and be with your family, you need to get on with that list. This do not do list means avoid those activities. Somebody might drop something on you during the course of a day, which you can do in 3 days' time. Don't do it then. Say, I'll do it for you, but I'll do it in 3 days' time.
Beautiful.
And I think that's what you do in life. And that gives you the kind of balance you need between work and home. And the more you invest in outside relationships, you minimize the stress levels and the pressure on you. You come back more refreshed the following day. It also doesn't disturb your sleep. The longer you work in a given day, the more disruptive in the long term it'll be to you and make you less productive and less happy.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Cary,
look
happy
after
Thanksgiving
yourself.
to you. Yeah.
Sorry?
I said thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving. I know you have another meeting coming, so enjoy your lunch and say hello to your family. Enjoy the game, the soccer game this weekend, okay? With your children.
I
Take
will
photo.
indeed. I will see Liverpool this weekend, and I pray we beat them.
Take photo, send it to me.
Okay, I'll take a photo and send it to you. Look after yourself.
Yeah. Bye-bye,
Take
sir.
care. Bye.
Thank you.
Look after your family.
You too. Thank you very much.
Bye.